The crystalline spires of the Galactic Academy of Sciences pierced the violet nebula surrounding Centauri Station, their translucent surfaces refracting starlight in mesmerizing patterns. Inside the Academy's primary selection chamber, Chancellor Zix 427 studied a holographic application with all 6 of their optical sensors dilated in disbelief. Preposterous. The Chancellor's voice resonated through their crystalline form, creating ripples of deep indigo. Simply preposterous. Professor Phila, her arachnoid form perfectly still except for the slight twitching of her sensory filaments, moved closer to examine the application. What troubles you, Chancellor? This human candidate, Maya Rodriguez. Look at these credentials. The holographic display expanded, showing a young woman with copper skin, dark curly hair, and eyes that seemed to contain an unsettling sparkle of what the aliens had learned to recognize as mischief in humans. Perfect scores in theoretical physics, yes, Thela observed, her filaments weaving complex patterns of interest. But these methods? Exactly. Zix 427's crystalline form pulsed with agitation. She solved the quantum entanglement paradigm using mechanical analogies. Mechanical. As if the fundamental forces of the universe could be understood through pulleys and levers. The chamber's third occupant, Dean Vrel, their gaseous form swirling thoughtfully in its containment field, finally spoke. Yet she achieved results that our most advanced quantum computers failed to predict. Perhaps that is precisely why we should consider her application. The holographic display shifted to show footage from Maya's practical examination. The human stood in her family's workshop on Earth, surrounded by what the aliens considered primitive tools. With confident movements, she assembled a device that, by all known laws of physics, should not have worked. Observe her methodology, Vrel continued. While our students spend years learning to manipulate quantum fields directly, she created a mechanical system that achieves the same results through what she calls practical engineering. It's dangerous. Chancellor Zix 427 protested. Humans lack the natural ability to perceive quantum states. They rely on crude instruments and intuition. The last word was delivered with a shudder that sent rainbow ripples through their crystalline form. Professor Thila's filaments suddenly stilled, a sign of intense focus. Perhaps that is exactly what makes them fascinating. While we see the quantum dance of the universe directly, they must find other ways to understand it. Their solutions are unexpected. The holographic display showed Maya's final demonstration. Using nothing but recycled parts and basic tools, she had constructed a device that could stabilize quantum fluctuations more effectively than standard Academy equipment. The most remarkable part was that she did it without using any quantum technology at all. Their planet's high gravity and harsh conditions, Dean Vrel mused, forced them to develop remarkable problem-solving abilities. They see limitations as challenges rather than accepting them as fundamental laws. That's what concerns me. Zix 427's voice resonated with worry. They don't accept limitations. Do we really want such an unpredictable element in our institution? The chamber fell silent as Maya's application video played its final segment. The human stood confidently before the camera, her eyes bright with determination. "I know I'm not what you're expecting," she said. "I know my methods seem primitive by your standards. But throughout human history, our greatest breakthroughs came from looking at problems differently. You see quantum fields. We see patterns. You manipulate subatomic forces directly. We build tools to do it for us. Different approaches, same goals. Imagine what we could accomplish by combining our perspectives." Dean Vrel's gaseous form swirled with what might have been amusement. She makes a compelling argument. Our mandate is to advance scientific understanding. Perhaps it's time we acknowledge that understanding can come in forms we haven't considered. Professor Thila's filaments wove a pattern of agreement. The Academy was founded on the principle of universal collaboration. Can we truly claim to honor that principle if we reject a species simply because their methods challenge our assumptions? Chancellor Zix 427 remained silent for several moments, their crystalline form shifting through various spectrums of uncertainty. Finally, they spoke. The safety protocols will need to be completely revised. Our equipment isn't designed for manual interaction. I believe, Dean Vrell said, their gaseous form brightening. That's exactly the kind of challenge Maya Rodriguez would enjoy solving. 2 weeks later, Maya stood at the Academy's reception portal, a battered toolkit in one hand and a tablet computer in the other. Her eyes widened as she took in the crystalline architecture and the diverse array of beings moving through it. A smile spread across her face, not the worried expression most new students wore, but one of pure excitement. "Welcome to the Galactic Academy of Sciences, Student Rodriguez," Professor Thela greeted her. "I trust you're prepared for the challenges ahead." Maya's grin widened. "Professor, I grew up taking apart quantum engines for fun. Challenges are what humans live for." As they moved deeper into the academy, neither of them noticed Chancellor Zix 427 watching from a higher level, their crystalline form shifting between anxiety and what might have been, despite themselves, a glimmer of anticipation. Maya's first quantum mechanics practical session sent ripples of alarm through the Academy's crystalline lecture hall. While other students manipulated quantum fields through standard neural interfaces, she stood at her workstation with a bizarre collection of what she called tools spread before her. Professor Thela watched with a mixture of fascination and concern as Maya began disassembling the quantum field generator, a piece of equipment that, according to all Academy protocols, should never be opened while active. "Student Rodriguez, Thela's filaments twisted in distress. The quantum matrix is highly unstable when exposed. The safety protocols clearly state." "Respectfully, Professor," Maya interrupted, her hand steady as she removed the generator's outer casing. "These safety protocols were written for beings who can naturally perceive quantum states. Humans had to develop different methods." She grinned, holding up a device that looked suspiciously homemade. "We call this a quantum field visualizer. Turns the invisible into something we can see and touch." The other students, a mix of crystalline, gaseous, and energy beings, had stopped their work to watch. A crystalline student named X299 chimed in harmonic disbelief. "But the quantum states will collapse under direct observation." "Only if you observe them directly," Maya explained, attaching her device to the exposed generator core. A holographic display sprang to life above her workstation, showing swirling patterns of quantum activity. "This visualizer uses indirect measurement techniques we developed on Earth. Instead of looking at the quantum states themselves, we look at their effects on surrounding particles." Professor Thela moved closer, her scientific curiosity overcoming her initial alarm. The holographic display showed quantum interactions in a way she had never considered, not as abstract mathematical formulas or direct perceptions, but as intricate patterns of cause and effect. "Fascinating," she admitted, her filaments weaving complex patterns of interest. "But how does this help with the practical exercise?" The day's assignment was to stabilize a quantum field enough to create a sustainable micro-universe, a standard first-year project that usually took students several attempts to master. Maya's hands moved swiftly, making adjustments to her generator that made several observers emit distress signals. "Traditional methods try to force quantum fields into stability," she explained, her focus never wavering. "But on Earth, we learned that sometimes the best way to control something is to work with its natural tendencies." She made one final adjustment. "Watch this." The holographic display erupted in a dance of colors as the quantum field began to organize itself. Instead of using brute force to suppress quantum fluctuations, Maya's modifications created a feedback loop that allowed the field to find its own stable state. "Impossible." X299 chimed, their crystalline form vibrating with excitement despite their skepticism. "The quantum probability matrices are self-organizing," Maya finished, "just like they do in nature. We didn't invent quantum mechanics. We discovered it. The universe was doing this long before any of us tried to control it." Professor Phila's sensory filaments recorded something unprecedented. A perfectly stable micro-universe, formed in less than half the usual time, using methods that contradicted centuries of established theory. "Student Rodriguez," she said carefully, "your approach is unorthodox." "That's a polite way of saying I'm breaking all the rules." Maya laughed, already making notes on her tablet. "But look at the efficiency readings. The energy consumption is 40% lower than standard methods, and the stability factor is actually higher." News of Maya's unconventional success spread through the academy faster than a quantum surge. By the end of the day, Dean Vrel had arrived to observe, their gaseous forms swirling with intense interest as Maya demonstrated her technique to a growing audience of students and faculty. "The implications are significant," Vrel mused. "If quantum fields can be manipulated through mechanical means, then we can make quantum technology more accessible to species without natural quantum perception." Maya finished enthusiastically. "Imagine ships with hybrid quantum drives, medical equipment that combines quantum and conventional healing methods, communication systems that—" She stopped abruptly, noticing Chancellor Zix 427 had entered the lecture hall. The Chancellor's crystalline form shifted through various spectrums of concern as they surveyed Maya's modified equipment. "Student Rodriguez," their voice resonated with carefully controlled disapproval. "The Academy's protocols exist for good reasons. Quantum mechanics is not something to be tinkered with." Maya stood her ground, though her heart raced. "With respect, Chancellor, human history is full of examples where tinkering led to breakthroughs. Sometimes you have to question established methods to find better ones." The Chancellor began to respond, but at that moment, something remarkable happened. The micro-universe Maya had created began emitting patterns that none of the Academy's sensors had ever recorded before. It was growing, but not in the chaotic way failed experiments usually did. Instead, it was developing in a controlled, organic manner. "It's replicating the conditions of early universe formation," Maya explained, her eyes shining with excitement. "By letting the quantum fields follow their natural patterns instead of forcing them into predetermined states, we can study how reality itself emerges from quantum chaos." Even Chancellor Zix 427's crystalline form showed hints of grudging interest. The implications were impossible to ignore. A new approach to quantum mechanics that could revolutionize their understanding of the universe itself. Dean Vrel's form brightened noticeably. "Perhaps, Chancellor, it's time we reconsidered some of our protocols. After all, science advances through innovation, not adherence to tradition." As the debate between tradition and innovation swirled around her, Maya continued making adjustments to her equipment, her mind already racing with new possibilities. She didn't notice the growing instability in the Academy's main reactor core, an instability that would soon force everyone to choose between established protocols and human ingenuity. The first warning came during Maya's quantum field manipulation class, 3 standard cycles into her term at the Academy. The crystalline walls pulsed with an alarming red frequency, and the artificial gravity fluctuated in a way that sent most alien students scrambling for their stabilization devices. Maya, used to Earth's constant gravity, merely shifted her stance to compensate. "That's not normal, is it?" Professor Phila's filaments twisted in complex patterns of distress. "The main reactor core, something's wrong with its containment field." Emergency signals pulsed through the Academy's neural network, but Maya relied on the crude audio announcements installed for non-psychic species. "Critical containment breach imminent. All non-essential personnel evacuate immediately." This is not a drill. The lecture hall erupted in chaos. Energy beams streamed through walls while crystalline students vibrated in panic frequencies. Maya was already moving, but not toward the evacuation routes. Instead, she raced toward her workstation, grabbing her toolkit. "Student Rodriguez," Professor Phila called after her. "The evacuation protocols. How long until total containment failure?" Maya interrupted, checking readings on her quantum field visualizer. "Approximately 47 minutes. came Dean Vrel's voice as their gaseous form swirled into the room. The quantum cascade has begun. Once it reaches critical mass, the entire station will be pulled into a quantum singularity. Maya finished, her mind racing. But before that happens, the containment failure will expose everyone to raw quantum forces. How many species here can survive that? The silence that followed was answer enough. The evacuation ships can't reach us in time. Professor Thiele's filaments drooped. The quantum interference is already disrupting long-range transportation. Maya's hands flew across her workstation's controls, pulling up reactor schematics. Then we fix it. Show me the core chamber. Chancellor Zix 427 materialized in the room, their crystalline form pulsing with emergency frequencies. The core chamber is sealed. The automated systems have failed. Maya cut in, studying the schematics. Because they're trying to force the quantum field back into its original state. But quantum fields don't work that way. They're not machines you can reset. She looked up at the assembled faculty, her eyes bright with what humans called determination, and aliens often mistook for madness. The containment field isn't failing. It's evolving. The quantum matrix is seeking a new stable state, but your systems are programmed to prevent any deviation from the original parameters. Preposterous, the Chancellor resonated. The containment protocols were designed by the finest minds in the galaxy, who all think the same way, Maya challenged. You're trying to control quantum mechanics instead of working with it. Look at these readings. She projected her visualizer's display, showing the reactor core's quantum field as a complex dance of energy and probability. See these patterns? They're not random. The field is trying to reorganize itself, but the containment systems are fighting it every step of the way. Dean Vrel moved closer, their gaseous form shifting thoughtfully. What are you suggesting? We modify the containment field to guide the quantum reorganization instead of preventing it. Maya explained, already pulling tools from her kit. Like what I did with the micro-universe experiment, but on a much larger scale. Impossible, Chancellor Zix 427 declared. The risk is better than certain destruction, Maya countered. She turned to Professor Thiele. Remember what you said about humans seeing patterns differently. This is why we need both approaches. You can perceive quantum states directly. I need tools to see them. But maybe that distance gives us a different perspective. The Academy's walls pulsed with another warning. 40 minutes remaining. To attempt this, Dean Vrel noted, you would need direct access to the core chamber. The quantum radiation levels are within human tolerance ranges, Maya said, checking her readings. Barely. We evolved under a nuclear furnace, remember? Earth's magnetic field exposed us to quantum fluctuations throughout our development. Professor Thiele's filaments suddenly wove a pattern of realization. The human cellular repair mechanism. It's not just biological, is it? It's quantum adaptive, Maya confirmed. We just never realized it until we started working with quantum mechanics. Our bodies are constantly adjusting to quantum fluctuations, not as efficiently as your species, but enough to survive short exposures. Chancellor Zix 427's form shifted through various uncertainty spectrums. The protocols specifically forbid. The protocols, Maya said firmly, were written by beings who never had to adapt to a death world. Sometimes survival means breaking rules. She looked around at her alien teachers, these beings who had mastered the quantum realm yet remained bound by their own conventions. I need your help. I can handle the mechanical modifications, but I'll need your direct quantum perception to guide the field's reorganization. The emergency signals pulsed again. 35 minutes. Dean Vrel's form brightened with decision. What do you need? Maya grinned, already heading for the door. First, we need to get to the core chamber. Then we're going to do something that's either brilliant or insane. She paused, looking back. Though in human scientific history, those often turn out to be the same thing. As they raced through the Academy's crystalline corridors, none of them realized they were about to witness not just a battle to save the station, but a fundamental shift in how the galaxy's greatest minds understood both quantum mechanics and human potential. The reactor core chamber was a cathedral of quantum engineering, its crystalline walls thrumming with barely contained energy. Maya stood before the massive containment sphere, her quantum field visualizer projecting a kaleidoscope of destabilizing patterns. "The quantum cascade is accelerating," Professor Thiele announced, her filaments weaving patterns of increasing distress. 28 minutes until critical mass. Maya was already unpacking her toolkit, laying out an array of devices that looked primitive to her alien colleagues. "I need direct access to the containment field generators. All of them." Chancellor Zix 427's crystalline form pulsed with alarm. "That would expose the core's quantum matrix." "That's exactly what we need," Maya interrupted, attaching her modified sensors to the chamber's control systems. "The quantum field isn't our enemy. It's trying to tell us something." Her visualization system sprang to life, projecting a three-dimensional model of the reactor's quantum state. Where the Academy's systems showed chaos, Maya's display revealed intricate patterns within the destabilization. "Look," she pointed to swirling formations in the quantum field. "These aren't random fluctuations. The field is attempting to establish a new equilibrium state, but the containment systems are programmed to suppress any deviation from baseline." Dean Vrel's gaseous form swirled thoughtfully, like trying to force water to flow uphill. "Exactly." Maya's eyes lit up. "We need to work with the quantum flow, not against it." "Professor Thiele, can you perceive the field's natural tendencies?" The arachnoid professor's filaments extended, directly sensing the quantum patterns. Yes, I see it now. The field is seeking harmonic resonance patterns similar to your micro-universe experiment." "That's our way out," Maya said, her hands flying over her equipment. "But I'll need all of you. My tools can track the patterns, but your direct quantum perception can guide them." 20 minutes remaining. Maya's plan was either brilliant or suicidal, possibly both. Instead of fighting the quantum cascade, they would deliberately destabilize the containment field in a controlled manner, allowing the quantum matrix to reorganize itself naturally. "Chancellor," Maya called out, "I need you to interface with the primary containment crystals." "Professor Thiele, monitor the quantum harmonics." "Dean Vrel, your gaseous form can detect subtle energy fluctuations we might miss." She looked at each of them. "This only works if we trust each other. Your quantum perception, my mechanical understanding. We need both." Chancellor Zix 427's form shifted through spectrums of uncertainty before stabilizing with determination. "Proceed, Student Rodriguez." Maya began the dangerous process of modifying the containment systems. Her hands moved with precise confidence, making adjustments that centuries of quantum engineering doctrine said should be impossible. 15 minutes. "Containment field synchronization at 20%, she announced. "Beginning quantum matrix redistribution." The chamber filled with swirling patterns of energy as Maya's modifications took effect. The quantum field, finally free to follow its natural tendencies, began reorganizing itself. The patterns, Professor Thiele's filaments wove in amazement. "They're self-stabilizing." "Like a river finding its natural course," Maya confirmed, making minute adjustments to her equipment. "The field knows where it needs to go. We just have to trust it." 10 minutes. Suddenly, alarms blared. The quantum cascade accelerated, energy patterns spiraling wildly. "Something's wrong." Chancellor Zix 427 resonated in alarm. "The field harmonics err." "No," Maya interrupted, studying her displays intently. "This is supposed to happen. The quantum matrix needs to completely destabilize before it can reach its new equilibrium state, like a phoenix rising from ashes." "Oh, what?" Dean Vrel asked. "Earth mythology," Maya explained, her hands steady despite the chaos around them. "Sometimes destruction is part of renewal. Trust the process." 5 minutes. The chamber became a maelstrom of quantum energy. Maya's tools sparked and sizzled, pushed far beyond their designed limits. The aliens watched in astonishment as she worked directly with equipment that should have been lethal to organic life. Human cellular structure. Professor Thiele observed in fascination. It's actually adapting to the quantum flux. We've been doing it for millions of years, Maya said through gritted teeth. We just never knew it. 3 minutes. The quantum cascade reached its peak. Energy patterns swirled like a cosmic dance, following the path Maya's modifications had created. The containment field pulsed with new frequencies. Now, Maya shouted. Everyone, focus on the harmonic patterns. Guide them, don't force them. The combined efforts of human ingenuity and alien quantum perception created something unprecedented. The reactor's quantum matrix, instead of collapsing into chaos, transformed itself. The destabilizing energy reorganized into new, stable configurations. 1 minute. The chamber filled with light as the quantum field found its new equilibrium state. When the brilliance faded, the reactor core hummed with a sound none of them had heard before. The resonance of a quantum matrix that had evolved rather than failed. Maya checked her readings, a triumphant smile spreading across her face. Containment field restored. Quantum matrix stabilized at 120% efficiency. Dean Vrel's form brightened in amazement. The reactor isn't just stable, it's operating beyond its original specifications. Because we stopped fighting its natural tendencies, Maya explained, finally allowing herself to relax. Sometimes the best solution isn't controlling something, but understanding it well enough to work with it. The chamber fell silent except for the harmonious hum of the transformed reactor core. Human and aliens looked at each other, all acutely aware that they had just witnessed something that would change the galaxy's understanding of quantum mechanics forever. Chancellor Zix 427's crystalline form shifted through colors of deep contemplation. Perhaps they resonated softly. It is time for the Academy to revise more than just our containment protocols. The Academy's great hall had never been so crowded. Beings of all forms, crystalline, gaseous, energy, and various other states of matter, gathered for what many were already calling a historic occasion. At the center of attention stood Maya Rodriguez, looking slightly uncomfortable in her formal Academy robes. Your findings, Dean Vrel announced, their gaseous form glowing with unusual brightness, have been verified by quantum institutes across 7 galaxies. The implications are revolutionary. Maya's quantum field manipulation techniques, born from the crisis and refined over the following months, had opened entirely new avenues of research. The holographic displays around the hall showed the results. Quantum engines with unprecedented efficiency, containment fields that adapted to environmental changes, and communication systems that worked seamlessly across all species' perceptual ranges. The quantum adaptive principle, Professor Thiele explained, her filaments weaving patterns of academic excitement, as student Rodriguez has termed it, suggests that quantum systems naturally seek optimal configurations if given appropriate pathways to evolve. Like water finding its way downhill, Maya added, unable to resist adding another Earth analogy. We just needed to stop building dams and start building channels. Chancellor Zix 427, their crystalline form now displaying the deep blue of formal occasions, moved to the center of the hall. For 10,000 cycles, the Academy has prided itself on maintaining the highest standards of quantum engineering. We believed we had mastered the fundamental forces of reality. Their form shifted, displaying hints of what might have been humor. Student Rodriguez has demonstrated that perhaps mastery is not about control, but understanding. Her primitive mechanical approaches, combined with our direct quantum perception, have created possibilities we never imagined. Maya watched as her modified quantum field visualizer was officially installed in the Academy's central display. The device that had once caused such controversy was now standard equipment for all students, allowing species without natural quantum perception to work directly with quantum fields. But the most significant discovery, Dean Vrel continued, isn't about quantum mechanics at all. It's about perspective. The hall's displays shifted to show recordings from the reactor crisis. Maya working alongside her alien teachers, human mechanical ingenuity merging seamlessly with alien quantum perception. Humans evolved on what we considered a death world. Professor Thiele added, "We saw this as a limitation. Instead, it gave them unique insights. Their cellular structures, quantum adaptive properties, their ability to see patterns in chaos, their instinct to work with natural forces rather than dominate them. These aren't primitive traits. They're evolutionary advantages we never considered." Maya stepped forward, her voice clear in the hushed hall. "With respect, it's not about whose approach is better. It's about combining perspectives. Humans need tools to see what you perceive naturally. But maybe that extra step, that distance, lets us see patterns you might miss. Together, we can understand the universe in ways neither of us could alone." Chancellor Zix 427's form brightened, which is why the Academy's Board of Administrators has approved the establishment of a new department, Hybrid Quantum Engineering. Professor Rodriguez will serve as its first director. Maya blinked in surprise. "Professor, your methods have already attracted students from 47 species," Dean Vrall noted, their form swirling with amusement, "including, surprisingly, several who can perceive quantum states naturally but wish to understand your mechanical approach." The hall erupted in the various forms of approval unique to each species. Crystalline beings chimed in harmonic resonance, energy forms pulsed with bright frequencies, and gaseous entities swirled in complex patterns. Maya looked out at the assembled beings, not just teachers and administrators now, but colleagues. She thought about her first day of the academy, how alien everything had seemed. Now she understood that the greatest discoveries happened not by following one path, but by finding ways to bridge different perspectives. "There's an old saying on Earth," she said, her voice carrying across the hall. "The whole is greater than the sum of its parts." We humans learned that about ourselves long ago, how combining different ideas, cultures, and approaches made us stronger. Maybe it's time to apply that principle to the galaxy. As the celebration continued, Maya noticed a group of new students watching her, beings of various species, all equipped with her modified quantum field visualizers. They represented a new generation of scientists who would grow up understanding both the mechanical and perceptual approaches to quantum mechanics. Chancellor Zix 427 moved beside her, their crystalline form displaying patterns she had learned to recognize as pride. "You have changed the Academy, Professor Rodriguez." Maya smiled, watching her human tools and alien quantum theory working together in perfect harmony. "No, Chancellor, we've changed it together. This is just the beginning." Above them, through the Great Hall's transparent ceiling, the three suns of Nexus Prime cast their light across the Academy's crystalline spires. The light split and recombined in new patterns, much like the ideas and perspectives that would shape the future of galactic science. Human ingenuity and alien wisdom, mechanical precision, and quantum perception, all flowing together like rivers joining to form something greater than themselves.